This is the OMFL.
You can't touch this.
And you're in the mix with Kinda Real Name. Here's another OMFL production.
Music on the new Madden. Like, I like that it's not like it's copy-free music that popped on. It's just beats. I don't know if they'll stick with it. Yeah. I wish they would. I like the beats. Yeah. Here we go. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Press Pass Live, your weekly OMFL podcast show. We're jumping right into it. It's Madden 22 beta time. We will be, as we are saying that right there, I hope everybody can hear me. I actually don't know because all of a sudden, all of my audio got hidden. No, I don't know if it counts for anything though. Oh my goodness. Okay, I can do all that later. I know y'all can hear me now, so just in case, let me delay this real quick because the computer's already like, what are you doing to me? Okay, sweet. Whew. I don't know what happened, but my audio got hidden for some random reason. It doesn't matter how much work I put into this or how much effort I put into it. It's always like a little bit off. Okay, let's just jump right into it. It's Madden 22 beta time. I've got it on my TV. I can't put it on the stream. I got my guy Win with me. We're gonna jump right into it and start talking Madden 22. Things we like, the things that we'd like to see improved. I got the chat up. We got the Discord on here. We got this ugly mug of mine on the camera. We're working on getting Wynn's ugly mug on the camera so that I don't have to be the only ugly mug that's here. But it's going to be a fun night. We're talking touchdowns and turnovers. Touchdowns are the things that we really like about the beta, the things that we're really impressed with. And honestly, I don't know if I'm going to start this show out with a bang like this or not, Win, but I would say that the touchdowns are way more than the turnovers. Turnovers are going to be the things that we don't like. Of course, some of it is going to be that it's a beta and like there are glitches and little things that need to be improved, but we're trying to give you the high level stuff, the stuff we know that's either going to be in the game or not in the game. Here is a little caveat before we jump into this, and that is we are playing a CFM on the beta with no abilities, which is what we're probably going to do in the OMFL. Just because the abilities just got way out of hand last Madden and it just didn't feel fun. Now, we may turn them on and like practice and try it and see what we think, but like some of those are OP, overpowered. For those of you who don't know what OP is, they're overpowered, they're not fun, they're hard to police, and what ends up happening is we all learn what is the ones that are overpowered and work. And most of our guys go with those. And that's just not fun. So probably going to turn those off. And we're playing on competitive mode, which I've argued this to the end of the planet and back when. I know a lot of guys have this immediate, vulgar reaction from the colon when they hear competitive mode because they think MUT. All it is, the only difference is they take out the random things that happen in sim mode. So that tells you that sim mode is built in to have randomness happen, takes that out, and it just kind of plays more even and more like you can kind of count on what your team is going to do. That is what we're playing, competitive mode, no ability. So know that as we are talking about what we're talking, because that is where we're leaning. No slider adjustments outside of the injuries. We turned them down a little bit because they were a little hot coming out of the corner. And so we turned the injuries down, but everything else is 50s across the board. So this is not necessarily as much about like how zones are reacting or how man's reacting, right? Like, because I think a lot, or speed differences, right? So all that can be adjusted through sliders. Take a breath. Okay, I've been running my mouth. When early, like 5,000 foot view. What do you think about the beta? So much so, I think it's an important part of the context you didn't have last Madden.
For about an hour, and I said, no, this is garbage, and I deleted it and didn't even think twice about it. Love football to death, but I did not get back into it. Madden 21 passed me by, but I did hear and see videos about the franchise mode and how it was basically the only difference between 20 and 21's franchise mode was blue. So apparently we paid $60. You paid $60 for blue. Congratulations. I basically said, I'm glad I didn't do this. And in a surprise move, social media finally, the MUT community and the franchise community and the Madden community in general actually all jumped up and said, you know what? No, this is ridiculous. And Fix Madden franchise trended, and it got me. I even trended it a couple times. I posted a lot of stuff. I was throwing retweets of everything in an effort to fix my favorite mode, because that's what I love. And I'm going to say this, they apparently listened. It's not where I want it to be, but compared to Madden's 20 and 21, it is light years ahead if these features stick in. Plus, I want to see this week they're introducing the franchise kind of playbook as far as how they're going to go through Madden 22. I want to see that too, but from what I've seen in the beta, gameplay-wise, I'm happy with it. It feels weird to say about Madden, and franchise-wise, there are some things that I wish were changed, but for one cycle, what they are trying to do, I am pleasantly surprised and pleased with.
Yep, I have to admit, they did way more than what I expected them to do. This was way beyond my expectations. I expected some changes, of course, but I have to admit, for the first time in a very long time, maybe 5 to 8 years, like somewhere in that time frame, they've blown me away by what they added. And look, you could take the negative point of view and say some of this is rehash, some of this is old stuff. I don't care. Like, this is the thing I hate about the Madden community. It's like, well, give us back what we used to have. Then they do, and you go, that's not enough. Well, wait a second. Chill out. You just said that give us back what we have. Like, this is a game. I'm going to say it up front. I believe that this is a game I can play all year round and have a good time playing it. It has what I've been begging to have, and that is things added to the franchise that make you plug in, that make you want to play the game, that give the owners of this league something that keeps them engaged. this has engageability. I don't even know if that's a real word, but we used it. So let's jump into our touchdowns and turnovers. Let's reverse engineer this. I hate doing like roses and thorns and sunshine and clouds or whatever stupid things that are out there. And you start with the good things and you end with the bad, and then you end everything on a sour note. Here's an extra one that I'm throwing in. Before we get to, we're going to start with our turnovers. So the things that we didn't like or don't like maybe on the surface about this game. Here's a touchdown for you on the surface, a +1 for me. I like the music. I know a lot of you are going to disagree with me, but like I love just having beats. Like no singing, nothing that like I just love. Give me the beats. I don't know if you're sticking with that, EA. Please keep the beats. I love the beats. All right, here is my first turnover, and that's something we experienced in Madden 21 if you got the PS5 version of it, and that's the vertical layout. I like vertical, like that's the old school, right? Bring us back to vertical. I'm totally okay with the vertical, but it's just the way they've laid out everything. I think they tried to fit 55 pounds of caca in a 3-pound bag, and it's busted, and it's just very hard to find substitutions and to find like the pre-snap stuff that you want to do, whether it's like kill the clock or no huddle or whatever you're running, right? It's very hard to do those things, and sometimes if you just make a couple wrong button pushes, you don't even know what you've done. You've just like, you know, your guys are lining up and you're like, okay, here we go. We're gonna find out what play I'm running when I get to the line. So I would say my first one is it just needs to be streamlined. It needs to be cleaned up a little bit. And I just think if they made a few little tweaks, I'll admit, I don't think this is the one they're going to touch. I think what we see is what we get. And you'll have this for an entire Madden. People will be, you know, blowing from the top of the mountains about it. But it is a bit of a frustrating thing. And maybe, you know, 2 months after having the game in our hand, we've adjusted, right? Because they've made changes like this before where we're like, this is so uncomfortable. And within, 2 months, you're like, okay, I got it. You just got to retrain the brain. So maybe that's where we get with that. But I don't love the vertical layout. Win, give me your first turnover.
Well, my first turnover is something.
Unless you had cuss words about that one, you're more than welcome to give me that too.
No. I'm actually good about that one. I may surprise you with that one. The first turnover I have is something I encountered in my beta franchise I played around with, because I found out that I potentially could be getting the Seahawks in OMFL, which is I think now official.
Now I think technically you are the Seahawks.
yeah. So I played around with the franchise on Madden 22 with them, and the scenario engine. The new scenarios make me nervous and I'm thinking as a user who is typically in the 4 to 5 win category. I'm going to say it, and if we get punished, we get punished for it. Bobby Wagner came out in a scenario engine with a surprise retirement potential.
Yeah. He
was going to retire on me. Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I was 1-1 at the time. I was 2 games into the season.
He's got a quick trigger, man.
Yeah, apparently. Well, my team then went, and I was simulating. I wasn't playing games. I would just simulate just to get to the end of the season to see what it looked like. And I managed to get him to not quit, which was good, but his ratings took a severe beating. I think he was a 99 overall in the game, and I think he dropped to like a 90 and slowly got back up. But from a standpoint of a 4 to 5 win user, if your best player, like a player you're gearing around, suddenly says, oh, by the way, I'm quitting, and it's out of your hands, that to me as a 4 to 5 win user would, pardon the language, piss me off. So that's one thing. I hope they tweak that a little bit. Maybe make it to where he doesn't retire per se, but maybe he just has that ratings hit to the end of the season, and maybe you got to talk him into staying. That would be kind of cool. But to have him retire mid-season with no warning, and you have no replacement, you have no plan. I understand that can happen in the real world, but in a video game where you might be in the bottom tier, it's like, I just lost my best player and I stink. Oh my gosh, why am I here? That kind of thing.
I totally hear that.
So that's my first turnover. I like the scenario engine. I like the new scenarios, but please tweak them a little bit. Don't scare your users that might be weaker, because that definitely, I got nervous when I saw that. And I wasn't even playing games, and I wasn't like, in a 32-man league. So I was just like, well, what?
You got nervous, but you kept him. And so it's not like it's an automatic, it's going to retire every single time. So I kind of like it that it's got a little realism and randomness, because I thought you were going to actually like the scenario engine as, look, I don't care what Wynn says. He's not a terrible team, and don't let him sell you that crock of poo-poo. He's not a bad coach. He may be not a D Wayne or a D Money, but how many of us truly are, okay? He is a middle-of-the-road guy like most of us are. But I would say, I thought you would like it because I feel like even if you maybe don't have the stick skills in this game to be, 14, win team, you can still hang in there. Like, it gives you these extra things that you can use to do more than just stick stills.
I like the scenario engine for the most part, but some of the scenarios that would definitely turn me off would be those kind of scenarios. So I like the scenario engine as a whole, but don't go crazy with it. My note was actually scenario engine goes nuts was basically my note. So that's the thing. I like the scenario engine, but please don't take it completely off the rails and scare your poor user base to the point where they're not wanting to play at all, and then you start having trouble filling these teams when, like, if Bobby Wagner retired on me and I quit the Seahawks. This is hypothetical. I quit the Seahawks and just leave, and then you come in and like, okay, I got Bobby Wagner in the Seahawks, right? No, you got the Seahawks. Bobby Wagner retired.
Maybe, but like 34-year-old Bobby Wagner, I don't know is going to have that much of an impact on one team. So I don't know. I hear you loud and clear, and I don't disagree. I just think I'd like to see it play out a little bit more. And you're right. Like if our lower guys start losing dudes left and right, that's another conversation. Now, if they, he's not in the game anymore, but if my Saints went, 5-10 and Drew Brees is 48 years old, goes, hey, I'm retiring midseason, it's like, oh, I get it. I'd have left too, man. So I kind of like it. So I think this next one we may actually disagree on. So it'll make for a fun conversation. I don't like the new menu. I think it is created to feel new, and a lot of it isn't new. A lot of it is easier maybe to find, but it feels cluttered. It feels like the top menu at the very top where you could normally see owners, like that is now removed. And so as a commissioner, it's like, I got to go, looking for it in like several sub menus instead of just having a column that listed every owner, which was, set autopilots and to do invites, that kind of stuff. And so I don't hate it, but I just feel like it's going to take some adjustment, because when you first look, it can be a little overwhelming if this is what they go with, which is my assumption. They're not going to totally redo the menus by the time the game drops, but it does start to feel a little cluttered. Now, I will say it's easier to find like quick information about your team and the team you're playing, which I like, but it just feels like, boy, it can be overwhelming to the senses when you first log in and look. And so you couple that with vertical menus that already feel cluttered and stuff is hidden and it's hard to find. You're going to find some of that in this menu. Again, maybe a month into the game, I'm totally used to it, and I like it because I don't hate it, but it does feel cluttered.
And see, I come from the NHL side, and that
which is very overwhelming.
NHL-like to me. Yeah. So, without giving too much away, I do dig it.
Give me your next turnover.
Next turnover. This is something that really shouldn't. Most people turn it off anyway. I like to at least listen for a little while, but the presentation, as far as the voiceover work, seems relatively unchanged. I don't know if that's something they're going to add like the last month or two before, between beta and launch. And there's a little bit of presentation elements that are added that I do like, but for the most part, the presentation just being completely unchanged. And I'm talking voiceover work and like the talking that goes above. Godden and Davis are very, very, very stable. And this is coming from someone who skipped a year, so it's like I can't imagine you guys that went through 21 and they're like, hey, we've heard him for an extra year. I'm honestly glad, and I really hope they get rid of him. But in the beta, there is no Jonathan Coachman halftime report. I'm okay with that. Just show me some pictures of plays and stuff. I do like the intro fly-in whenever they come in and it's a different voiceover guy like talking about your team, and you're seeing more animations of pre-game activities. I do like that. That's the part that has changed that I like.
And as somebody who's on the field for games, like pre-games, I'm not bragging. You guys know that I get that little side gig at the Saints games. It feels very real. Like that is the experience pre-game on the field. It looks like that. Yeah,
but once you kick off, everything is back to old school, boring, played out. What would really be ideal is, and EA is going to claim it costs too much. That's what they did with the Superfans deal. If you didn't read that article, that was funny. Oh yeah. Cost too much to get Superfans in the game, but we could put in, Migos and Snoop Dogg. Anyway, side story. Sorry. Side tangent. But the 2K series, NBA 2K, does a lot of different announcer groups. They have like different announcing teams. They have, I'm trying to remember, the Kevin Harlan. They've got Chris Webber. They've got they've got all kinds of NBA guys, and they mix and match them. And it sounds realistic, and it's different from game to game even. So you have different broadcasters, for different games. And even if it is the same play-by-play guy, if it's different color guys that can interject their own lines, it feels fresh and different. It feels like a different game. Gordon and Davis just don't do it for me anymore. They're perfectly fine, but it's just we need different announcing teams. We need like where's my CBS crew? Where's my ABC crew? NFL is a big multi-channel brand. Why are those guys not in there? So that's where when I say presentation unchanged mostly, that's what I'm talking about mainly. There are some things I do like that.
Yep, I turn it off, and so I haven't even picked it up because I do a lot of streaming on my games. I don't want it on. It just and even when I stream someone else's games, I ask them to turn it off because you don't want commentary over somebody trying to commentary. So I actually didn't even pick up on that one. I will say I do like the halftime show. It could be one more step. Just show me 2 highlights. Show me 3 highlights. Hell, show me 1 big highlight. I don't care. But
so many plays from other games.
Yeah, that's the ones I'm talking about. Like when you show me, if I'm the Saints, if you show me the Pates Cincinnati, Pats Pates, who the hell's the Pates? Pats Cincinnati game, and you show me the score and the stats. Show me 2 plays, right? Show me 2 big plays in the game. I think that would be freaking awesome. My last turnover, and I think guys are going to start picking up on a theme that I have here, is like a lot of things that I don't love. Okay, here's my disclaimer to all of my turnovers. They are not bottom of the barrel, burn the game, burn EA to the ground, burn the devs' houses, never buy the game ever. They're not that low. Like these are like super high turnovers. Like I'm overall extremely pleased with the game. It is going to be the coaching treat. Now, I will say, I haven't been a big fan of coaches since people introduced it, and once it got here, it blew me away, and I'm very intrigued by it. Now, we'll see if it gets old, we'll see if it gets abused or repetitive, but on the surface, I'm very intrigued, but it's very RPG, right? Which, I used to hate RPGs until this dude that I'm with right now got me into them. Got me into RPGs. I think it was Zelda was the first RPG I totally got into. Now, I never got like super into them because I don't have 800 hours in my life to devote to a game, but I totally get into them. My one complaint, and I wish I could show, I wish we could show, even though Eric got away with showing some things on his stuff, let me see if I can pull it up and explain. Here we go, manage staff, franchise staff, here we go. So, my complaint is it's not easy to figure out. Like there's not, unless I skipped it and don't remember, it's not a great guided tour of like, here's what this screen is, and here's what the view talent tree means, and here's where you spin your points and what it does. It's like you gotta kind of figure it out yourself. And I just feel like it's the UI is not very user friendly. Like it's not a quick plug and play. You gotta like mess with it a bit before you kind of figure it out, and that's my complaint. Overall, I like what they've done. I like where they're going with it. I think what is going to be interesting for us is we start custom coaches, right? So everybody's going to be at ground zero across the board, and they're going to have to build the coaches up. And that's intriguing to me because now we're talking about long-term 5, 6, 7 season engagement, right? Well into the summer, people are still engaged. So I like the concept. I like the idea of the tree. I like that it's not easy. Everything's about 10 points, unless they're all 10 points. I didn't even look way down. Let's look here.
They're all 10
Yeah,
points.
they're all, even the ones at the bottom, even though I think some of the ones at the bottom maybe just a little bit more. But anyway, it's not easy to get 10 points. And we can start out with, when we start the franchise, we learned that everybody can start out the same amount of points. So if Win gets the pre-game, the pre-sale, whatever it is, pre-order, there's the word I'm looking for,
pre-order.
and I did not, and it comes with 20 coach points, I can make sure we all start at 20. So there'll be at least some control over that. I just think it could have been done a little bit simpler. And overall, I like the concept. I just don't think it's super user-friendly. Give me your last turnover.
Well, before I give you my last turnover, I want to piggyback on your coaching thing. It's not a touchdown of mine, but I know you say you like it. The things I want to say about it is, number one, you got to consider the fact that this is the beta, and you remember if you have like your tutorial menus on, if you go to like scouting, that's been the same for like a decade. You still got that same stupid scouting tutorial where it makes you go through and scout. I'd be willing to bet they're going to add some type of tutorial for this. It's just not in the beta. So I do think they will walk people through this with some kind of tutorial. Now it might just be God and like, popping screens over, say, this is where you train your head coach. This is where you train your coordinators. This is where you train your GM.
Totally. You totally could be right.
It'll be simple. But I think they'll walk that through. And I don't think that'll be a problem for new users to it. And the other thing I was going to say is that those ultimate abilities, what I call ultimate abilities, the ones that are at the very bottom of the tree, those are ones you can actually reuse, because the ultimate ability for the general manager is for 10 points. He can unlock somebody who is not interested. He can make them interested again to try and sign.
Nice.
So you can actually, the bottom of the head coach, you have two options, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. One of them is you can basically unlock the development of a player instantly. So like if it's hidden, you can unlock that immediately. Or the other side of it is, if you pay the points, you can prevent regression to a position group.
Yeah, I see
for
that.
1 season. So essentially, and it's position group, not person. So you can go quarterbacks, wide receivers, tight ends, and it prevents that entire group from regressing for 1 season. So that's really handy, and it's rebuyable. So it's something that once you buy, you can buy it a second time and a third time. And you can
Since
make
you're
some
on
of
that
those abilities.
subject, I would also say, like, I actually didn't mess with player personnel yet. I didn't get there. But when you brought that up, I brought it up and started looking at it. Like, so some of these, my initial thought was like, okay, reduce the cost of trading up during the draft. Well, we don't have CPU teams, so there is no like quote unquote cost. But I had this idea of like, of course, we'd have to get my guy Ross on board if he'd be interested. But like, we could say, like, if you own this, you get a 5% discount, on your trade to draft up. Like, you get to add in an extra 5% leeway that we allow. So like, we could still give them the benefits of earning some of this stuff.
And another thing that the general manager, the player personnel guy, can do is at the very top of his chain, he's got the ability to do hometown discount. To let you know, rank 3, the top end of that, it gives you a 20% discount to contract offers for anyone that's 90 or lower overall on your team. Yeah, so that is huge for re-sign. So if you got a lot of veterans you want to bring back for one more run, or however. But I do like it. It's not a touchdown of mine, but I did want to touch on that before I go to my third turnover, which is not. It's not really about the game, honestly. It's not really about anything in the game, which is what makes me sad about it. Yeah. Why did it take such a fuss about Madden 21 to get to this point? Why did it take us having to go to social media, throw a fit? I mean, honestly, a rightful fit, but a fit about how bad this franchise mode was untouched for years before Madden finally said, oh, maybe we should do something for those guys. Why? That's my complaint. And you see what they've done in a year. They've done not as much as I would like, but I'm willing to say, hey, they've done work for me. they've done work for me. And then the other thing I would say about that is, I know they're at least trying to pretend they're caring, because they're actually throwing us first up. Like on these deep dives they're doing for Madden, we're not at the bottom. That's where we've been in these announcements the last couple of years, and now we're top of the line.
Nope.
I want to see
100%.
this every year for a couple of years. But why did it take us throwing a fit? Why did it take us having to go fix Madden franchise for this to happen? That's my biggest turnover, is why did it take us being so mad at the game that we review bombed it to give it a 0.2 user score for you to finally listen to us? That's the aggravating. That's the thing that the biggest turnover is. You dropped the ball so bad on franchise for years that it took us saying, hey, you dropped the ball, pick it up, for you to finally say, oh yeah, I should do something with that. That's my biggest, that's my third turnover. It's not even about the game. It's just about, why did it take us throwing this fit for you to do this much work? And you've done a lot, and we want to give you credit for it, but why did it take us throwing a fit for you to do this?
No, I mean, you're totally right. I mean, there's zero argument in any of that. But I can say with confidence, no one's going to buy this game. Like, I always argue with myself about saying this kind of stuff. I respect content creators. I respect what they get. But I would say this this played out narrative that this is the exact same game that we had last year is just not true. It's not even remotely true. But it's here, and I'm one of those guys who kind of sometimes thinks like, who cares how we got here, and let's keep adding to it, right? Let's not take another step backwards. Let's get to my first touchdown. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I mean, I know you're of the mindset that Madden is different from year to year. I think Madden 21 was about the closest you could possibly say, dude, this is just a roster update.
No, totally.
20. But go ahead and go to your turnovers. Let's get to happy news.
Let's get to some touchdowns. My first touchdown is the depthness of pre-game, pre-week stuff to do. Literally, you could sit. I'm probably over-exaggerating. You can jump in with your 36 ACT scores and 4.8 that you had after you graduate and fix the dummy here. I feel like you could spend 2-3 hours before you even play the game, like messing with your coaching tree, looking at who you're about to play, looking at their stat, like if the stats are right. Now that's the one thing that's up in the air, but like they show you your overall rankings right on the main screen. One push of a button, you see the overall rankings of both teams compared to each other. Who's high, who's low, who's kind of close. You get to see offensive rankings, defensive rankings. You get to see their top players. With just a couple of pushes of the button, you can see what they do on first down, what they do on second down, what they do on third down. You can start to get an idea of zone, man, inside, like all of these things that we've been asking for. You can literally deep scout a team without watching 50 hours of film on them. When we get to the scenario engine, right now we're in week 4 of the test CFM. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 things, 8 things that I could do before I even touch the game. There is a press conference about a cold opponent I'm about to play, a press conference about my number 1 quarterback checking in with me, a GM meeting about a free agency fit, players ready to negotiate, scouting college players, which we can touch on before we call it a night here, my weekly strategy, game plan, managing my staff, and returning from injury. That's like all stuff that I can't just go 1, 2, 3 button pushes done. And that is super exciting to me. That is a massive, if that's all we get, I'm totally happy. I really am. Like that is a big step forward. I do worry that 32 new scenarios will get played out. Like that doesn't feel like a lot, but look, who knows? Like once we get into it, maybe it does feel like a lot. I would like to see that number doubled, to be totally honest. If we can see that doubled for the next Madden, I think you got a super good system here. and with scouting getting redone, which again, we'll hit on it before we go because I got the IGN article up. There's a lot to do, and I love that's and look, even your goals. Like once you pick what my weekly strategy is, including I don't know how I almost forgot about that. You could, like when you go to do your weekly practice, you can pick your strategy, and then you get to pick, are we going all out, full pads? Are we going shells? Are my starters getting all the reps? Are we doing starter backup? Are we doing backups? Like, and then your players get hurt in practice. I freaking I lost CJ Gardner Johnson. We'll spit his name out. I was practicing too hard. I just love that is something to get super excited about. So
and the fatigue system as a whole, like the buildup of fatigue over a season, that's super realistic. Yeah, I do like that. I just about everything you're spitting. I enjoyed about franchise so far.
Nope, that was my first touchdown. Give me your first touchdown.
My first touchdown is going to be one that you kind of poo-pooed on, which is okay. That's okay. We can have different opinions, right? Less is more is what I called it. Less is more. No longer, at least at this point, no longer do you have the coach just wandering around in the background, sitting in his chair, picking his nose, looking at a picture, looking at his phone or a tablet, just flipping through his hand. No longer is any of that there. Take that crap away. We didn't need it.
I'm snapping. I love that.
Give me a nice streamlined menu. This menu feels a lot to me like the NHL menus from franchise mode, and I really, really like that feel. And I understand where you're coming from, where it looks kind of busy. But the thing I like about the NHL series is that all your information's in blocks and windows and widgets, and you go to that widget and you pull up all the information you want. So you go to your stats, you pull up all your stats. You go to your team stuff, you pull up all your team stuff. So I am a little more comfortable with the menu than you are at this point. So I definitely like it, and I also noted under that less is more. My favorite thing about the whole practices deal is that I don't have to sit there and basically spam this computer to try and get a gold medallion so I get the most experience.
Yes.
I don't have to do any of that. It's less interactive, but it's more entertaining and more engaging because it's less interactive. Sometimes less is more, and I like that. So that's my first touchdown, is less is more.
Yep, I completely agree with you. Even while you were saying some of those things, like it's I find it more engaging that some of that other stuff is gone. And so I was even doing some of my pre-week stuff while you were talking, and like you can give smug answers. Now look, you're not going to be blown away if you haven't played the beta. You're not going to load up the scenarios and just be blown away by the cinematics of it. Look, it's a little low, but it's a system, and they can add to that system as we move forward.
It's a foundation.
It's a great foundation. And so I'm playing the Giants, and they're on a cold streak. So they're going to have like -5, I think it was tackle, -5 break tackle, -5 play recognition. But they asked me, is this a trap game? And I got to decide, no, it's not a trap or smug answer. And like, depending on what you do, you might give a bonus. You might give them a bonus, right? Like, and on this one, it's like, who do you want to blame? Is it your quarterback? Is it the team? And so like there are some cool scenarios that I think will get you in on that. Trey, if you want to, actually, because we're a little more than halfway through, you can talk. Just keep chatting in here. Unless you want to come listen, you're more than welcome to come listen. So my second touchdown, right? Is that where we are? We're on number 2. Yeah, my second touchdown. No one has confirmed this. So maybe it's just my old 41-year-old eyes playing tricks on me, but I feel like the player models have been tweaked and are slightly, what's the word I'm looking for?
They're more
this isn't a great word. Yeah, I was going to say cartoonish, like just a little, to where it like, remember when Madden took that big leap in graphics from, I think it was like 99 or 2000 to 2001 or 2002?
PS1 to PS2.
Yeah, it was like that massive jump where we went from like the 16-bit to like a new world. Like that's what this feels like. It's like it just that next little jump. Maybe it's because on the new system, all that stuff. Maybe it's that little jump of Trey. Please give us your pros and cons. We'll talk about them, buddy. But I think that those player models have been tweaked just enough to where I notice a difference and it looks better to me and it feels better. I haven't noticed much graphical difference from year to year in quite some time. I always kept saying like it's probably because they've all kind of like it hit the limit of what the game can do, and so you're not going to see this massive jump anymore. I also wanted to touch on now I'm recalling old stuff. Maybe I should come back to this, but I know I'll forget the super fan idea. I know people are kind of up in arms about it. I don't know that I care that much to see the whistle man or some made up created guy. I can also it sounds like a question that was asked to the wrong person. Like somebody asked somebody who didn't really know the answer, and so just made up the answer. It's going to be too much money. I think the more the reality is that they could chase down all 32, but what if like 15 decide to sign for whatever they're offering to pay and the other 15 go, no, we want $2 million, right? And now you got like half of them are in and half of them are out, and you just piss everybody off. And it's like, let's just keep it simple. Everybody gets creative players, and maybe that's something we work on for the future to get, agreements where everybody agrees, because it's not like college players, right? And so anyway, back to my pro. They also tweaked the movement just a little bit though, just enough to where it doesn't feel as sluggish as 21 on PS5. It still has the more realistic movement, no more the cuts of left to right with on a dime, like no human can do without blowing out both ACLs. It ain't happening. Like Wynn said, it feels realistic, but it's got a little bit more speed. And I think once we start messing with sliders, we can give even more speed. So those are my two. Well, it's my one touchdown, but the slight improvements in movement and player models, I think really, really, really good. Give me your second touchdown.
This is one I came across when I finished the first year of my franchise, and it surprised me pleasantly. My second point is history is important. Basically, when I got done with my first season with the Seattle franchise I did on my own, just simulating, it came to the 2021 season recap. It recapped all the way back to 1967. I could look at every Super Bowl from Super Bowl 1
kind of cool
to Super Bowl whatever we're on now, 54, 55. And in most cases, I could see the winner, obviously the second place. I could see the coach of the year, and I could see the Super Bowl MVP. That to me is awesome. Now they couldn't list everything, and I think it's probably because of restrictions due to licensing and having to pay people for their names and likenesses and stuff. But to have that as like you can go all the way back to Super Bowl 1. And see the entirety of the NFL from 67 to where you take over, in this case in 2021, is awesome to me. I love that. And that's something that is minor to most people. Most people probably won't even give two rats patooties about it. But that's something that's cool that maybe I want to go see. Oh, I don't know. Let's see. Maybe 2009-ish is kind of important to us, Nate. Is it 2009, 2010-ish? About that range, we could go see who won that particular Super Bowl.
Yeah,
I think a team beat the Colts on like a pick six from Tracy Porter. I'm not entirely certain. I think that was the Saints, right? I mean, we bounty gated it, but hey, we got it, so I mean, whatever. But that was something I thought was a nice touch that I wasn't expecting, and because I wasn't expecting it, I was pleasantly surprised. So I want to put that in as a touchdown. Kudos to EA for throwing that in. Please leave that in because that is really, really cool.
I just had another scenario, which I've heard about, but I haven't got to experience, where the GM sat down with me to ask where we could improve the team. I went defense. Yep. He said, what areas? I said cornerback. He said, hey, here's 2 players. You pick one, and it signs them for you. And it's just kind of a neat one. My last touchdown, and I could have had a bunch of these. Wynn and I tried to share, so we didn't say the same ones over and over. But that's the stats. So right now, I'm in the weekly strategy plan. And literally, I'm just going to see if I can quickly read some of this. So Giants offense, average points per game and where they rank, total yards, where they rank, average passing yards, where they rank, average rushing yards, where they rank, turnovers, where they rank. Now, those numbers aren't, there's something screwy here. Like, it's showing they have 254 turnovers
which
and
could
they're
be beta
24th in the league. Right, totally. Offensive play calling tendencies, 58% pass, 42% run, 0% play action, and you can hit triangle and there's a full report that shows first and long, second and long, third and long. Oh my God. Like, yes, give me all of these. Player health, you can manage your defensive players' player health. So Jonathan Joseph is fatigued, Patrick Robinson's fatigued, Malcolm Jenkins is fatigued. So I can go in here, press a button, and I can pick my practice intensity. Do I want to go full pads, half pads? Do I want to come, position by position, starters, split, or backups? Like, who's getting the playing time here? So let's say safety, Malcolm Jenkins, he needs a break. So I'm going to, do all backups there, right? Like, so much here that you can do. And that's just one side. On the other side, Saquon Barkley is their top threat. It goes defend this defensive game plan would be to defend the outside run. And it shows why. He's had 46 rushing attempts, which is number 12 in the league. He's 284 rushing yards, number 3 in the league. Rushing yards per carry, where he ranks in the league. Touchdowns, where he ranks in the league. Fumbles, where he ranks in the league. So it showed you, if you pick this game plan, you're going to get better outside run block shed, better tackling, better pursuit, better play recognition when calling outside run play counters. And it shows you everything. So you can click that and it brings up all the things. So you can defend deep pass, inside run, medium pass, outside run, QB scramble, defend short, and what each of those not only help your defense increase, it shows their stats for each of those. It's just literally, if you wanted to just sit here, you could spend hours just messing with your team, figuring out exactly how you want to attack the team that you're about to play. You can really, really dive deep into these, and that's something that's really, it's good, man. It's really good.
I do like that. Depending on your choice of practice, you practice your game plan. You get temporary bonuses to your players at different attributes. I really dig that, because then that really does feel dynamic, because from week to week, you might have better zone coverage guys, you might have better man coverage guys, you might have better play recognition as a whole, better tackling, better pursuit. All that stuff works together to make the players feel a lot more dynamic they are. So now the ratings still matter, but now they matter a little bit less, because now you're able to modify them on a week-to-week basis with small little things like game plans and stuff. I really do dig that. I did want to mention they talked about flat and deep zones in the chat. That is something that was actually announced in the beta that wasn't working. That was a general gameplay issue, that the zones, the deep zones and stuff like that, they've announced as part of the beta that it's still bugged and broken. So that's something that may be fixed by the time we get live, hopefully fixed. But that is something they did make an announcement before they even threw the beta out there. So I just want to mention that from the chat before I take on my final touchdown, which my final touchdown is another one that you turned over. And that's the play calling screen. The reason I like the play calling screen is it is different, and there are some places where I got to learn where stuff is, like substitutions and things like that. And I think it's one of those things that after a month you will get used to. The thing I love the most about it, though, is that every formation you pick, it actually shows all your sub-formations across the top. So, like, if you're a shotgun-heavy team and you have, like, 12 or 13 formations in shotgun, instead of going, okay, which ones do I have, and having to go through each one and look at the picture play art and see, okay, that's what it is, it actually shows you across the top. Okay, I've got wide trips, I've got wide trip spread, I've got 5 wide receiver ISO. It shows all that at the top, so I don't have to guess what's in my playbook. I can see it across the top. That's huge for, as you learn your playbook, you can quickly navigate between those different formations, go to your plays that you want to call on those third downs, those second downs, those first downs, and you can get to them that much quicker once you get used to the interface. I will emphasize that it will take some getting used to, but I like the fact that it shows a lot of this information to you easily readable, so that way you can digest it and basically go through it that much quicker and not have to guess what's in your playbook and flip through and look at the pictures and go, okay, that's that formation. Okay, and by the time you get done with that, you call on timeout because your play clock ran out because you don't know your playbook that well early on. It's a little thing, but it is something I like, and I think it will be something you get used to. But I do understand where your frustrations are at finding different things. But that was my big thing, is just being able to see all your formations across the top. So if you run a lot of I formation or a lot of strong I or weak I formations, you can see them all across the top, and you don't have to guess what's in your playbook.
Yeah. Nope, I can't disagree with that at all. And I have not been a big fan in the past because I want overall, and I still don't know where I fall on this. So there's my disclaimer. I want guys to learn their playbook, but I do enjoy when I'm playing the CPU. If I'm like, man, Mike Thomas has been shut down and we're 2 quarters in and he's got no catches, you can go to Mike Thomas and it gives you a bunch of plays in there that are designed for him as like just a temporary thing that, you know, maybe again, this is the thing I hate about being a commissioner, is that you got to start putting like numbers on stuff or percentages on stuff, because guys like, they want to know where's the line, because I'm gonna put one toe right over that line, and so you got to start drawing lines in the sand. But if we do allow it, I like being able to a couple times a game go, you know what, it's 2nd and 4.
I need my boy.
Yeah, I need a big play here. Let me go to Kamar. Let me see some plays for Kamar. So overall, I don't disagree with you. Let's read a couple of trays. You stop me if you hear something, and then we can look at the IGN report real quick and then put a bow on the show. I think we're going to have tons to talk about for the next couple of weeks, including the scouting, which is probably going to get its own show, because I know Madden, maybe you know the date off your top of your head. I don't. I think it's this week or next week soon. Their first video or information.
Tomorrow's their first video.
There you go.
Tomorrow they're also doing part 1 of a podcast about franchise. Thursday is part 2, and Friday is the gridiron notes, the actual written down stuff.
Well, there we go. We're going to have 4 things to talk about on the next Madden. The next Press Pass Live. So we're going to have a whole new thing, which I'm also a little annoyed that there is a much bigger channel out there that took the name Press Pass Live for their podcast, since I've had it for, 15 years. And so I actually thought about changing it to touchdowns and turnovers. I doubt I'd do it, but I was like, you know what? I kind of like that name. Anyway, let's talk about trays. You stop me if you hear something that catches your attention. He said for pros, no more position group training. He loves it. Every player is gaining, knowing what every player is gaining from practice. Scenario engine now being more than just text messages and having different arcs.
Yep.
Though I haven't seen it yet, the knowledge that they gave us for the new scouting system is an instant W. Totally agree. And again, when we get to that in this IGN, I know Win is going to be the guy. I'm going to just shut up and listen. Cons, and I agree with him here, offensive line dev trait upgrades don't exist. That's been a problem for quite some time. I don't know why they've made that decision, but clearly it isn't an accident. It wasn't something that... this is being left out on purpose, and they're not explaining why, and maybe most people don't care. But Trey actually came up with a really neat system that we never quite got plugged in last Madden, that Trey, we can maybe take a look at again. The player archetypes haven't changed, which stinks. I kind of agree with that. But if the trade-off is that stuff don't change and we get all this other stuff and it works like it's supposed to, I'm kind of willing to give them a break, because there is a line. I mean, these people aren't working, 98,000 hours a day. They got the same 24 hours that we do. And he says, finally, Wynn's going to love this one, annoyed by somehow they managed to take steps back in flats and deep zones when they reward late contact on aggressive catches. He says, I know Wynn hope. He says, haha.
That's where he responded to me.
Hopes. Oh, I got you.
That's where he responded to me talking about the flats and deep zones. Well, I know deep zones were specifically mentioned as far as being not fixed in the beta. I don't know about flats, so that's something I'm not sure on. But I know they mentioned deep zones for 100% sure that they mentioned that. So that's why I brought that up in the chat. So, but everything else he mentioned,
it's our friend.
What's that?
Punctuation. It's our friend.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yes, it
just
makes
kidding,
a
Trey.
huge difference.
Because once you explained to me what that was really saying, I was like, oh, that totally makes sense. But trying to read it out loud as an adult, that was not working in this little pea brain of mine. Let's talk about the IGN. Now, I skipped the first part about this. I can post it in chat if you'd like to see about it, but it's them just kind of talking about the overall stuff about the game. Let's talk about coaching tree being introduced. They talk about outside of home field advantage, which I like. I was a little nervous about it, but I actually really like it. I wish it was actually slightly more powerful than maybe what it is. Another feature that's similarly lifted from NCAA Football 14, which I find is like an underhanded comment, but from my NCAA guys, which, I mean, I played the game. You know, Wynn is the guy who got me mainly into it. I love college football, but I was a Madden guy, you know. Arguably, fix me if I'm wrong here, Wynn. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but hands down, I have been told NCAA 14 is the best football game that's ever existed.
Oh, wow. Put me on the spot.
Hands down, a top 3 NCAA game for sure.
How about we caveat it by saying it's the best college football game ever played, ever made? I'll caveat it. I don't think it's the best football game ever.
My argument is to lift something from arguably the best NCAA game ever just sounds like a stupid slap in the face. But anyway, coaching trees, I think we both agree, are a positive and a step in the right direction, and something that people are going to love.
I will say that on the coaching trees, I do like that for the most part, as far as the head coach and the coordinators, once you go down one path, because it typically has at least 2 branches, once you go down one branch, the other branch locks. So you honestly have to make a difficult decision and choice as to how you want to progress. So like if you want to, for your head coach, you have the option to take experience gain bonuses for like your defense or your offense. And once you pick one, you can't go and pick the other one. Now there is an option to reset your skill trees. I don't remember where it is, but I know you can do it and get points back. That you can, if you don't like the way you spent, you can change. So that's a good thing too. So if you basically spend out, you can say, okay, that sucked. Let me reset and try again. But that I do like is that it does force you to make a difficult decision, because some of those choices are rather difficult. I mean, I'm a defensive guy. Do I want to help my defense be better, or do I want to make my weaker offense better by getting my O-line and my halfback, my skill position players, get them better? So what do I do as a head coach to help that out? And how can I help my offensive coordinator and that kind of stuff? So I like that, but it is different. And I like different in this case. And they honestly did a good job. I wouldn't say they ripped it off from NCAA football, though. NCAA does it a little bit differently. But I do like the choice system of, hey, you pick this branch, you're locked off of this branch. So it makes you make that tough decision of which one do I want more. So
EA should do themselves a favor and stop allowing people to put microphones in front of Sean Grady's mouth. He says, honestly, their influences are more rooted in games like God of War. That's fine to say, Grady, but then he says, my son and I have been playing a lot of it. Probably a stupid thing to say, buddy. You should, that's great to say to your wife or your friend next door, but you probably shouldn't say that on an article, because freaking Moody ripped into that statement. He ate that like it was T-bone steak, which was kind of funny to me. Scouting will be updated. Later. He says, scouting has been another sore point for franchise mode, and fans will be happy to know it's finally being overhauled for Madden 22. It's just not happening right away. Grady says the team considered pushing the update to Madden 23, but ultimately decided to make it part of a live update. We've been treating the whole game, and certainly not just franchise like live servers, Grady says. So we said, let's continue to work on it and get it out, close to the NFL season in September timeframe, so the fans can have it this year. When it does arrive, it will feature dynamic draft board changes throughout the year, including, I don't know if it's going to be in this article, I don't think it is, but I know that I did hear this will include local, regional scouts, national scouts, that kind of stuff. What do you think about the scouting little Easter egg?
I am hoping that this week's deep dive will go and enlighten a lot more about what their plans are for Madden 22, like they did with after the fixed Madden franchise fiasco of Madden 21. That was something nice I felt about EA, is that they came out and said, we're going to do this, and this for Madden 21. This, and this is what we're planning for Madden 22 and beyond. And I think they hit on most of their Madden 21 promises. I think they might have missed on one. But I know scouting was something they had mentioned that was going to be in the future. I want to see what their plan is. I want to see what their roadmap is for 22 and beyond. Because the thing is that if this is a 1 year, let's just placate the franchise guys so they'll shut up about fixed Madden franchise, that's not kosher and that's not going to fly. We need to see a roadmap every single year. What are you giving to us? What can we hold you accountable for on social media for giving us? And that's what I want to see this week. I am sincerely hoping that, I know I've done this is my third podcast back with you now, and we've talked a lot about NHL and their scouting. I believe both weeks really. That is something that I hope they dip their toes in. I hope they at least take, because when I reference the less is more touchdown as the menu looks like NHL, I'm hoping that maybe they finally bothered to call Vancouver and say, hey guys, the scouting system you guys pretty wicked dope. Can we have that, Ozers? Can we get that down here? And I hope they talked to those guys, and I hope they got some ideas. I know it wouldn't be perfect, but if it's something like that where you can have your regional scouts or that kind of thing, and have the scouts have different skills and attributes and things of that nature, and maybe even be able to find new prospects that nobody else would find unless they bothered to take the time and look, that would be really awesome. I'm not expecting all of that, but if they could take the initial outline of, here's your scouting board for the Southeast, here's your guys in the Southeast, here's your scout. He can scout 35 to 40% of these guys by himself. If you want more, you're going to have to send a second scout down there to get more information on the Southeast. And these are the types of players. These are where they're ranked, and give you a general overview. And then the other thing I would love to see, which always frustrated me about Madden drafting, is why is it that I don't know anything about the first round projected picks? That should be something that should be common knowledge to everybody, because they're going to go top 30. Or at the very least, give me the top 15. Give me the top 15 guys in the draft. Everybody should know everything there is to know about those guys, because those are the guys that are going to be showing up and walking on stage with Goodell, shaking hands, giving him a hug, maybe crushing him or something, and then getting their jersey. Those are the things I would love to see added. And if they go about that with that NHL look and that NHL scouting side, that would be an awesome start. And that would wake up some guys that are Madden guys and not necessarily NHL guys to go, wow, this is the kind of depth they have in other games. Yeah, that's the kind of depth we've had for a while in NHL. So,
yeah, and I'm hoping even one step further, like you said, in future Maddens. I don't expect it in this Madden at all, but give us better visuals, cinematics, production in the draft, because it's pretty boring right now. There's not a whole lot to it. So Trey says, are we going to allow pre-ordered coaching points? I don't know, Trey, but we can set it to where everybody will start with the same, and so that's probably what we do. If we do allow it, we'll make sure everybody gets the exact same points. We're not going to give anybody a benefit or a heads up unless it gets added to the incentive plan, which it totally could. He says you're going to have National, West, Central, Northeast, and Southeast scouts, and he would compare the scouting system from the knowledge that they've given closer to what the MLB scouting system will be, which I haven't had the new MLB, so
I can actually speak to this one too. The MLB, the show, is kind of it's much better than Madden. Of course, it's not hard to be better than Madden scouting, but MLB's is in that same vein. I think NHL is more in depth, but I think MLB's would be a good starting point, and it's also along the lines of essentially you have a player, you have their general potential rating, so you know how good they're going to be. You have some general ratings about their base attributes, and as you scout those players, they become more fine-tuned to the point where essentially after a couple of days in MLB The Show, depending on how good your scout is, it might take upwards of a week. They can have a full scouting report of that player and have it basically locked down. This is what this player is going to be like at the next level as far as what their ceiling can be. So it tells you what their ceiling is and what their ceiling is at each spot, and it tells you what they're currently at, so you can have an idea of where their growth is. So if it was something like that, I'd be totally happy with that. I'm not, I use NHL as my baseline just because I'm very intimately familiar with that game scouting system. But MLBs I'm familiar with, and if it was anything like MLBs, that's not a bad thing. That's at all. That would be a huge step forward. Anything would be a huge step forward than what we have right now, which is basically just 3 crayons we draw in A pluses on, and that's it. So.
You're totally right. They talk about the franchise will include 35 new scenarios. The one thing that I'm kind of torn, again, I don't know that EA thinks these things through, but to admit that you hired someone from the community, taught them the system, and let them do your job, it's a little like you guys are.
Can I add to that, and the fact that they added 35 new scenarios, and I think there was maybe 20 to begin with, so they basically did double the good work that you had already in house.
Yeah, it's just not a good look unless that guy was hired full time on the team. If you just brought him in for that project, and it just feels like, hey, here's the tool, go sit in the corner and let us know what you come up with. It's just not a good look for a multi-billion-dollar company. Are you worried at all 35 is going to be? Yeah, you're right. Are you worried 35 is going to be too many or too little? It's going to get boring.
Look, at this point, I'll take them and just be happy, and just maybe add some more during the season if that guy's still around. Maybe pull him out of the corner for a day or two and say, hey, can you slap this together on the weekend while we're on coffee break? Appreciate it, thanks. Oh, here's 10 new scenarios, I did them over the weekend. That would be awesome. But 35 is fine. I got to see how they work in game first. I've seen them in the beta, they seem to work fine, but give me the live release. How do they work in live release? That's the big thing.
Halftime adjustments, we didn't even really talk about those.
No.
Love them, hate them, like them, what?
I like them. I do like them. That is something it didn't dawn on me until I saw the article again. But yeah, the halftime adjustments is a huge thing. And supposedly, from what I understand, it's even going to work. Not that we're MUT guys, but just I want to throw some news out there about MUT as well. It's going to work in MUT as well, where you can actually change your X Factor abilities and all those abilities that they add to players and stuff. You'll be able to change those at halftime to adjust based on what you're playing against. So, not that we're MUT guys. There might be a MUT guy or two in here maybe, but that's something that they are talking about. So halftime adjustments is not just for franchise, but it is something I definitely like, because if you are getting hammered with something, maybe just like a real coach, hey, the outside run's killing us. Maybe, guys, we should try, I don't know, setting the edge. Just an idea. So I do like that. I think that's a great thing, and that does add some realism. So.
The next two are presentation things. I don't want to spend a ton. I'd love to hear what you think, but I don't really have any thoughts because I don't care. Super Bowl presentation. Never been in Super Bowl. Well, I've won one. That's about it. And so what do I care what it looks like? And then super fans. Do you have any feelings about either one of those?
I think the quote that was gotten for why they didn't do the real super fans was absolutely horrendous. The person who gave that quote should be sent to Siberia somewhere and never put in front of a microphone ever again for EA. They should tie a ball gag around that person and be like, nope, you stay in the closet, you stay quiet. That quote is horrible when you're a multi-billion-dollar company. We couldn't afford to give you. No, that's terrible reasoning. But I genuinely would like to see the actual face scans of the super fans, because I do think, even though I'm not a Jets fan, I know the one that's on there is Fireman Ed. I really think it would be cool to, during a really good play, like a big run or a big pass play for the Jets at home, in the Meadowlands. I was trying to pick the name of the Jets stadium. To pop up in there like after that play and hear the crowd going J-E-T-S, Jet, and seeing him lead the charge, actually be Fireman Ed, I think that would be super cool. I understand why it's just a little thing, but there are other franchises that do franchise mode, the show 2K, they get those little things right. And so I think that would speak a lot to where Madden's trying to go if they got those super fans. Yeah, it's a little thing, but if you nail that, then that means we might give you a little more leeway on some other things as long as it's not glaring,
Yep, I agree with you. I do think it's a good foundation, and what's there is better than what we had even last Madden in
Absolutely.
the PlayStation 5 version of the game. Face of the franchise is back. We're CFM, so
Who
I'm not really
cares?
I'm not really gonna talk about it that much. Next gen stats roll into year 2. I didn't really dig into this one. I don't. I mean, I guess it's a cool visual, but is that all it is? It doesn't really do anything else, right?
What I would love for this to tie into is I would love for this to tie into ratings adjustments. Get rid of those Madden ratings adjusters that are like, people that can be influenced, and just throw it on next gen stats. And if guys are losing a step and the next gen stats support that, that's what drops their attributes. And not have a player, I'll just name I'll say Bobby Wagner because that's a name I've mentioned during this podcast a couple times. Not have Bobby Wagner, cry about being dropped from a 99 to a 98 overall because his, awareness or went down a point or two. And so he whines to a ratings adjuster online. And then they come out to the next game. They're like, oh, we were wrong. And then they up it. That is such BS. Let the next gen stat, because if you go look at games like MLB The Show, I'll bring this one up. If you look, like the average Joe that plays on a major league roster is anywhere between like the 50s overall to like the mid 60s. Those are like
much lower.
Yeah, much lower. Like you rarely see any players in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Those are reserved for those special talents. And I think EA, and this could be said about any of those franchises, it's hard to please those superstars and those egos with those ratings, but especially it seems like with Madden, they've gotten so full of it with the whole Madden ratings reveal that it's become a monster that they can't control. And I think
it's a social media thing now.
Oh yeah, big time. But I think those next gen stats, if EA just let that be the core reason of why players are rated the way they are, and get those ratings down to where you have that disparity between, what's a guy I could probably throw out there easily? I'm trying to think, Nick Foles is rated in the mid 70s. Yeah. And honestly, probably should be rated at highest, probably the mid 60s as far as ability wise. He's not a starting quarterback, even though he's paid like one. Right. Andy Dalton should be in the mid 60s. He's a starting quarterback barely in the league. But guys that are barely all fringe level talent should be fringe level overalls. No matter what position they play, no matter how big a name they have, if they're fringe level talent, they should be fringe level overall. And that would do away with this whole ability stuff and X factors, because the guys that would be in the high 90 overalls would be the few players that would be good enough to get those, like those Mahomes, like the Bradys, the Rodgers, I'm naming all quarterbacks, but I mean, those guys should be elite by their ratings, and there shouldn't be anybody near them, because that's what differentiates them, their high ratings. And that's the thing I think that next gen stats would help with. I know it's not going to go that way, but that would be the way I'd like it to go. And if that's the way they're maybe gearing it, then I'd be all for it.
It says, I lost it. Where to go? As expected, Madden 22 will include a multitude of enhancements to next-gen stats, with data governing passing aggressiveness, how ball carriers break tackles, and team strategy. This is on top of the improvements being made to sideline detection, tackling mechanics, and other gameplay features. It's a little vague. I don't know if that's like a human CPU situation, if it's going to be in all human games, what exactly is it touching? So it's just a little vague.
I will say that their sideline detection and interaction, I actually had something I had not seen in a Madden in like 4 or 5 years. I believe I was playing just an exhibition game as the Saints, and Kamara had a big run. He ran out of bounds and kind of got tackled out of bounds and rolled over. And a guy from the sidelines, not in a uniform, just a black suited guy, like a scout or a ball boy or something, ran over, put his hand down to reach for him and helped him up. And I'm like,
that's cool.
I don't remember ever. I'm like,
No.
wait. And I actually went back and looked at the replay. I'm like, that had to have been just like, I mean, it's a canned animation, but I'm like, wait, what? Huh?
Yeah.
What? So that was a cool little thing. I just thought I'd bring up about detection and that kind of stuff. But that kind of stuff, if sidelines react better, that will help the immersion factor. That'll help the realism factor. Madden needs a lot of work. Let's not kid ourselves. But if they're willing to put in the work for the gameplay and the franchise, I think that'll help bring everything. A rising tide carries all boats. So
totally agree
that's the things they need to focus on. So.
Let's wrap the show up.
Sure.
The last thing was just that if you get the PS4 version or the Xbox version, you do get the automatic digital upload of the new version. And so if you upgrade your console, you do get the new one. I think that's super cool of them. I mean, I say that with a little hesitation. They're a multi-billion-dollar company. Let's not act like they're giving the game away for free like crazy. So I do think that was cool of them. They didn't have to do that, and yet they still did it. So give me a ranking, 1 to 5, first impressions of the beta. Should people be excited? Should it be tethered? Should they decide to throw it all away and go play something else?
1 to 5, I'm going to give it a 3.5. 3.5 because I think it's good. I think it's a step in the right direction, a couple of steps in the right direction. But I do think there's obviously some flaws that need to be fixed. They're working to fix them, it looks like, for the first time in what feels like eons. I think it's good to be cautiously optimistic, which is not my strong point. So this is an odd feeling for me. But I am cautiously optimistic about Madden 22 finally turning the corner. It feels like we've been promised these features for like a decade. And now that they're here, it feels like, wait, seriously? We getting this? Are we getting this now? Okay. Really? Are we sure? So it's kind of like one of the things, like, we've been slapped around so much that when we're finally like offered a hand to be helped up, we're just like, no, go away. We're knee-jerk reaction. But I think on a scale of 1 to 5, I give it a 3.5. It's above average, which is better than what most Maddens have been lately, and there is room for improvement and optimism if you're a Madden fan, for sure.
So this is why I'm not a full-time professional streamer. I did notice that my camera was lagging, and I fixed the audio so that it would all match up, and no one has said anything in chat, and I realized that I actually fixed the wrong audio source. And so this whole time it's been off, and I was going to fix it because I noticed I closed some windows and my camera caught up, and I was like, okay, let me take off the delay, and I realized the delay was on the wrong one. So my bad about it being a little off. This is why we're not professionals, and every time we get to do one of these streams, I get to learn. I give it a higher rating. I'm gonna be a man and grab my cojones. I'm gonna give it a 4.5. I think it's massive steps in the right direction. This feels like a game that I would play offline, and I can't tell you, 99 was the last Madden game I ever played offline, like legit.
Yeah.
Like, I used to come home every year, PlayStation 2. PlayStation 2. I get off at 1 in the morning. I'd come home, take a shower, eat some food, go to my room, and play a game of Madden every night before we called it a night. And this seems like a game I would do that to again. This is an enjoyable game. I'm very impressed with it, and I'm having fun playing the beta. And I'm like nervous because waiting for them to shut it down any moment, but it's been really fun. I'm gonna try to send my feedback in later this week. I just want to keep playing it a little bit more. Wynn's played it more than I have, and so I just want to keep playing. I really do. It's little things like, clearly there's a glitch in the system that causes you not to play human to human games, and so I wish they'd fix that and send out an update so that we could play some human games. That would be fun. Who knows? Maybe that's on purpose. Maybe they don't want us playing other humans. I don't know. I can't speak to it. But if they would fix that one thing, I would be really excited. Oh, July 1st is the last day. Well, there you go. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah.
Is that next week? Yeah.
That is a week and a half from now. Let's see. It is Thursday, so it's 10 days out.
All right. Well, there we go. Well, we got 4 things coming out this week. that we'll get a chance to debrief. I'll probably kick out some GrownFolks news. So I'd love to get your support, guys, on that. Give me likes and subscribes, all that fun stuff. Let people know that we're making news. This has been fun. I'm probably going to cut this live stream up a little bit. And it's a PS5 problem for user games. See, Trey knows more than I do. There you go. So clearly it's a PS5 issue. Hopefully they can fix that before this beta ends, because it would be nice to play some humans. But we'll get some news channels put out and get. I'll probably take this live stream, cut it up in some cool sections, and spit out some fun videos. So when this has been awesome, let's see how this news goes this next week, and then on Sunday, hopefully, fingers crossed, no technical issues. Sunday we'll come back together. We'll have fun, and I feel good about Madden, and it's been a long time since I felt good about Madden.
Yeah, I actually concur with that. It has been a long time since I felt good about Madden, and this feels good, and it's a weird feeling, so I'm worried it's going to go away.
Well, let's see how that goes. He says that we're getting a game update this week as well, so franchise will be wiped out. That's totally fine. We'll put up another one, and we'll start getting people invited out. So hopefully that update kind of fixes some things. I'm probably going to play a quarter before I go to bed, even though it's way past my bedtime. So guys, thanks for hanging out with us. I'll chop this up and get out some shorter videos that sit on our YouTube page, so give us some helps with that. And I'm always looking for a pity subscribe. So Home Church 217 on YouTube is my personal YouTube channel for my spiritual leadership community, and it has just been started this year, and I could use some help. And so come give me a pity like over there, and subscribe to that channel. Go find Win on YouTube. Winuvas, Winuvas. I think I said that right.
Yep, you got it.
And Win's going to be doing more content for us here on our channel, which is what I'm trying to talk him into. And so hopefully you'll see more and more and more stuff coming out from Win, more and more stuff from the GrownFolks news channel. And of course, we'll stay on top of it for here on Madden 22. We didn't even talk, about the Supreme Court today saying that NCAA players can get paid for their likeness, which is a game changer for the NCAA game and all NCAA games, really. And so lots for us to talk about over the next, 8 weeks, 9 weeks, whatever it is that Madden's not coming out yet.
Yep, that's got nothing to do but talk about news, so might as well go ahead and enjoy ourselves talking about news.
We might as well. Win, thank you again for hanging out with me tonight, guys. Be blessed this week. Do something for someone that you care about, and let's just have a great week, and we'll see you back on Sunday for some Press Pass Live. Until then, peace.